I was going to do something different, but I'm going to do something the way I normally do it. So I'd like to start with, in my subconscious mind, the drummers drum. The brothers be drumming. The drummers be drum. The drummers be drumming. Ancient wisdom, vision, and contemplations. The drummers drum dreams, laughter, and love. The drummers drum sorrow, despair, and joy. The drummers be drumming. The drummers are always drumming. The drummers drum one by one, and the drummers drum by the thousands, over oceans, across seas with no valley too low or mountain too high. The drummers drummed. The drummers be drumming. The drummers drummed in Central Park, and the drummers drummed in Mount Morris Park and Prospect Park near the Botanical Gardens. The voice of the ancestors chanted songs of life as the drummers drummed rhythmic percussions infused with the multi-layered passions of diasporic conditioning and hypocritical Christian posturing. The drummers drum. The drummers be drumming. The drummers drum. The drummers drum dual consciousness. The drummers drummed echoing ancient sounds learned on the hills and plains of Zanzibar and Senegal, Ghana, and Mali, mixing with the indigenous drums of Caribs and Arawaks, Cherokees, Blackfoot, and the hearts buried at Wounded Knee. The drummers be drumming. The drummers be drumming, and Dambala danced. It's my book, African Love Songs. It has just been released, and we're doing a big book release party on Tuesday night, and I hope everybody comes. We'll be at the Speakeasy Brewery, so there will be things to imbibe. So I am from Harlem, and I remember the day that I started to play in the game of life called Power. I see in my mind the place and the time. I even remember the hour. It was Saturday night and the moon was bright and the game was stalking their prey. And the neon light, the cold was crying, and the weak they was doomed to pay. And you can forget that quote that the Christians wrote about honesty and fair play. You can't live on the streets without knowing how to cheat, because the game just don't play that way. So I'm standing with my partners on Dewey Square, having made some arrangements to meet my partners there. I was high and flying, rapping very bold, when along came my man, Big Money Van, in his gold interior Rolls Royce car. As Van came up to take my hand, from the corner of my eye, I did spy, moving with a sexy stride, this beau called Mama. She was pretty and trim, and believe me, Jim, she knew she was looking fine. With a smile on my lips and a song in my heart, I knew that I'd make her mine. As Van came up, he introduced us, and she said, "Say, fellas, how about a bite to eat?" So we all agreed on some boss feed at Zerkoff's down the street. Now, Zerkoff's was for the elite, and although this was my first flight, believe me, Jack, don't look back, I was clean as the Board of Health. 3 players, true, we sported ribbons of blue, we painted a picture of wealth. Now, a captain named Abel, he serviced our table. He served rare old wine, vintage 1879, from the cathedrals of Spain, they say, as refreshing as cocaine. We had escargot and truffles, we had duck à l'orange flambé, we had some hummingbird hearts and other rare parts, mashed potatoes a la king. Green mint flavored ice cream, and it was covered with Moss's Boss. Then we sat back and smoked Turkish cigarettes and talked. At that point, feeling quite willing and able, I leaned across the table and I looked at her and I said, "Baby, I believe deep spiritual needs drew us together. We blend like the fragrance of flowers blossoming in the gardens of the motherland, and like wind swept from the sea, my spirit has sought you out, and the only thing I want you to do is to bathe me in the naked warmth of your knowing smile, sharing the sounds of the song in my soul, brown sugar, soul sister, my warm dark room of Africa. I think I love you." Okay, no laughing. Understand, I will be with her in those special places in celebration of the oneness of our universe. I am one with her. I call her goddess, and still she is more. If I could make my words speak of her, I would capture her divine essence and make new words in a language to praise her. She reminds me of moonlit nights and tropical breezes in the place where the blackberries sway after a warm summer's rain. Her ancestral name and her essence rest in the center of my being, and her dreams became a part of me. My heart opened and unfolded in a new reality. She awakened me. birthing new smiles for my heart to embrace. I held her thoughts and caressed her dreams, and I meditated. Then she recognized and discovered in me, she recognized the balance and harmony of how much of her unseen I see. In response, she inspired creative artistic abilities and reminded me to keep rebirthing newness. I call her goddess. And still, she is more. See, I know her. I know her beyond the flesh that hides her essence, and words cannot capture the radiance of her magnificence reflecting upon the waters of my masculinity. I hear the voices of great-grandfathers calling on the midnight winds, memory of memories glimpsed in the clarity of moments forever treasured. I travel an unknown distance with countless distances yet to explore. Midnight messages passed from generation to generation on the winds of the ancestors. I drifted through 10,000 dreams. I remember sweet water, honey in the rock, sun-kissed and beautiful Nubian maidens, locked and braided, whispering nectar-sweet songs, soft, reassuring words and gentle caresses, riddles of life, rituals of love and loving, honey-dipped, chocolate dripping. I hear voices. I hear the voices of great ancestors calling on me. I don't know where to go because I got so many different things that I want to say at one time. It's like, see, I was born in Harlem Hospital, and I grew up in Harlem. But before I went to Harlem, I spent my first 7 years in Richmond, Virginia, growing up with my great-grandparents. Then the white people decided that they wanted to kill Emmett Till. And when they killed Emmett Till, I was like 7 years old, and my parents who lived in New York said, you can't stay in the South anymore. And my cousin's parents who lived in Philadelphia said, you can't stay in the South anymore. So we had to leave our grandparents. And he went to Philadelphia, and I went to New York. I went to Harlem. When I was like 10 years old, you know, I was on my way. It was the first of the month, so I'm finna go get that first Superman and Batman comic book that comes out at the beginning of the month, and it costs 10 cents, you know. So I'm bopping down the street and whatnot, and I get to the newsstand, and I'm standing there at the newsstand, and all of a sudden I hear somebody say, "You are better than the white man. You are better than the white man. You are better than the devil." I never really heard that before. I kind of liked it. I tried it on for size, and it fit kind of good on me. You are better than the white man. Yeah, I like that. You know, and that was the day that I met Malcolm X. I kind of stepped away from the book stand, and I looked up, and there he was, standing on a ladder, talking to us, explaining to us about who we were and how we were being treated. You know, that we'd been ripped off, we'd been abused, we'd been led astray. And I liked the stuff that he was saying. But now, I'm listening to this stuff that he's saying, so you know, I go home to my father and I say, "Yo, Pops, you know, Malcolm X." He said, "Malcolm X?" I said, we don't do Malcolm X in this house. So how come? He said, "Well, Malcolm X is a member of the Nation of Islam. And the Nation of Islam was started by, well, it was taken over by Elijah Muhammad. And Elijah Muhammad then stole all the information that he could from Marcus Garvey, from the Universal Negro Improvement Association." And I was like, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." And not only that, a lot of people don't even know that Malcolm X's father was a member of the UNIA, and his father was murdered for standing up for black people. I didn't know that. But then I still, you know, Malcolm was cool. You know, I still liked him, you know, and I still talked to him and stuff like that. Then Malcolm decided that he wanted to go to Mecca. And I said, you know, I don't know nothing about no Mecca, you know what I'm saying? But the brother wanted to go to Mecca, so I said, okay, I'm going to go to Mecca with him in my mind. Malcolm goes to Mecca, and he comes back, and when he comes back, all the newspaper reporters in the world are waiting there. And they got their microphones in his face and they say something nasty about the devil. And he said, first and foremost, I am a human being. And I expect to be treated like a human being. And I will treat other human beings who deserve to be treated like human beings like a human being. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Because I had actually learned to hate white people, which if you're African in America, that's not real hard to do. You know, I mean, I'm just saying, you know, when I was growing up, my great-grandfather used to say, that's the sign for the colored folks, and that's the sign for the crackers. Now, he taught me to read when I was about 3 years old, but it took me a long time to realize that that sign that said W-H-I-T-E did not say cracker. But I got it. You know, so I was like, okay. So I said to him, Papa, why do you call white people crackers? He said, because, son, first of all, back in the day, almost everybody had a horse. And everybody that had a horse had a whip. And everybody that had a horse and a whip, they used to beat their horses with a whip. But anytime they saw a black person, they felt like just cracking their whip against their bodies, against their head, against their back, against their face, against their arms, against their legs. They could do that. And that's why I call them the whip crackers. And we just shortened it to crackers. That was my great-grandfather. My grandfather was a hustler. I mean, you know, in America, if you were born in 1900, there was not a whole lot of things that you could be. It wasn't like you could become a doctor. It wasn't like you could be a lawyer. It wasn't like you could be a scientist. It wasn't like you could be an accountant. So my grandfather was a hustler. And I guess he kind of ended his hustling ways around in the 1930s. And that's because the Negro Green Book came out. And my grandfather was an agent for the Negro Green Book. So he used to travel all around the United States and Canada and Mexico and find all those places that it was okay for Africans in America to go to. You know, and so that was his job. Now, I wasn't born until 1948. So he had this job for a while before I was born. And so he would start taking me around to different places with him. And every place that we went in, I noticed that he never paid for anything. If we went to a grocery store, he didn't pay for the groceries. If we went to the barbershop, he didn't pay for the haircut. He didn't pay for anything. And finally it dawned on me that those people were giving him free stuff because they wanted to be in the book. And that's what he did. He'd take pictures, he'd put you in the Negro Green Book. You know, so I'm real proud of my grandfather. I remember walking down the street one day near 125th Street. And we got to the corner of 125th Street and I said to him, Papa, why are all of those black people crowding around that white man? He said, that's not a white man. That's Adam Clayton Powell, Jr. I didn't know he looked like a white man to me. You know, so he took me over and he introduced me to Adam Clayton Powell, Jr. And when he got up next to him, Adam Clayton Powell said, hey, Mr. B, how you doing? What's going on? I was like, Adam Clayton Powell. I heard of Adam Clayton Powell. I'd never seen him before, but he know my grandfather. He know who my grandfather is. And so that made me feel good. So my life really has been a lot about trying to be the person that my great-grandfather was and the person that my grandfather was. And so I'd like to leave y'all with my personal thought of what the anthem for hustlers is in the United States of America. I don't want no gold watch for working 50 years from 9 to 5. While the boss man's drinking champagne and I'm drinking beer and something die. I want to be happy and free, living and loving for me. I want to be happy and free, living and loving just like a natural man, just like a natural man. I'm Abdul-Kenyatta. I got a book signing on Tuesday night. Come on out.